This week on The Watchman, welcome to the very spot where a Hezbollah terror tunnel was recently uncovered by the Israel Defense Forces. Right over my shoulder there is where the Iran-backed terrorist army Hezbollah dug one of a network of terror tunnels right here along the Israel-Lebanon border with the intention of invading northern Israel, of invading the town of Metulla, where I'm standing right now. That is, until the Israel Defense Forces discovered and destroyed that tunnel. But the threat remains. And this week, our good friend, Israel Defense Forces Major Reserve top military and strategic analyst, Elliot Chodoff, is back to break down this threat and what comes next. It's The Watchman, it's Christians United for Israel, only right here on TBN from the Israel-Lebanon border. Elliot, welcome back to The Watchman, my friend.
Thanks, it's great to be back with you.
It's great to have you. And you know, you and I, here on The Watchman Show, we like to go where the story is. Elliot, this is where the story is, where we're standing right now, the Israel-Lebanon border. Tell our audience where we are right now and why it is so important.
Absolutely, Eric. We're standing over Metulla, which is the northernmost tip of Israel, the northernmost town in Israel. Along that road is inside Lebanon.
Yeah.
The border itself is down further along the tree line.
Okay,
and it follows around the edge of Metulla. Actually, Metulla describes the border of Israel. It comes all just where you see the edge of the houses, the edge
with the red roofs.
Along there, that's right.
Beautiful area, by the way.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful,
Gorgeous.
Mountainous.
Yeah, if Hezbollah wasn't right over there, it would be perfect.
We'd be okay.
And then it loops around this way and behind us over here. So we're right now surrounded on three sides by Hezbollah. The Mediterranean coast is out that way.
Right.
The border comes off the coast, and along that entire border, we have a problem with Hezbollah. But as it turns northward this way, we have an additional problem, because along here, as it curves around, we have Hezbollah on both sides. Okay, so just one more time. Yeah. On that side, Hezbollah is to the north of us.
Gotcha.
And so that's a problem. They're facing
see
us.
The map right here of Metulla and the area.
But in this area, it's on three sides. So this particular town is actually the tip of a finger that has Hezbollah all the way around it. Wow. What that means, and we know we've announced the finding and destruction of a bunch of Hezbollah tunnels.
Which we're going to talk about a bit later and get maybe an up-close look at that area.
6 officially. I'll emphasize officially. The purpose of those tunnels was to facilitate what the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, has declared. One of his objectives is to conquer the Galilee. Now, they're not going to conquer the Galilee, but Nasrallah, as usual, a bit of truth and lots of lies. Yeah. They do have a plan to conquer land in the Galilee. Gotcha. And the idea of the tunnels, and particularly in a place like Metulla, there's a road that comes up this valley into Metulla. It's the only road in. If that road is cut, Metulla is cut off.
Nightmare scenario.
Totally nightmare scenario, because their objective is not to take the ground. Their objective is to take the people and kill them.
Look, this is the northernmost tip of Israel. They're on the edge of the civilized world here. Right behind is Hezbollah country. Right. What's life like here in Metulla? Could you break down this community a little bit?
Talking about a farming community, this land was purchased back over 100 years ago. The Turks were here. It was all Turkish, Ottoman Empire. Then the British and French came in, separated what the French called the Mandate of Syria, which included Lebanon of today. The British called the Mandate of Palestine. Again, a whole story, why Palestine and right? But they drew the line around Metulla.
Okay.
And the fields became part of the French mandate. When Lebanon came into existence, now it's Lebanese territory. And here, we talked about the border.
It came into existence when?
In the 40s.
In the 1940s. So people at home realize the modern Middle Eastern map is pretty recent.
It's all in the last 100 years. Something I should mention here, because I think it's really important. I mentioned the border before, we talked about it. You know that Israel and Lebanon don't really have a border.
How's that?
Because a border is a recognized line between two countries. Lebanon doesn't recognize the existence of Israel, so it can't have a border with Israel. We have a UN certified line that we withdrew to in 2000. And the UN said, as far as the UN is concerned, Israel has withdrawn from all of Lebanese territory. Lebanon has never recognized that we exist on this side of the line. So it's not a border, it's a UN demarcation line.
And that's not just Hezbollah not recognizing.
I'm talking about the Lebanese government.
The Lebanese government, which Hezbollah has kind of co-opted in a lot of ways, yeah.
But we're talking about Lebanon ever since there's been a Lebanon.
Yeah, and what a beautiful, we see the fog rolling in a bit here, Elliot. It's just a beautiful mountainous region.
It's a beautiful place to live. It's a vacation spot. Yeah. There are a lot of hotels in Metulla.
We stayed in one last night.
There's a beautiful community center with an ice skating rink, the Canada Center. So this is a place people come to go on vacation.
And yet.
But that's Israel.
Well, Elliot, we are up high here at a high elevation on the Lebanon border. The fog is rolling in, as folks at home can see. So we're going to roll out and talk a bit more, I guess, about the fog of war that Hezbollah would like to create. Let's go to those orchards.
And then down to the border.
Down to the border. Let's go, my friend.
Let's go.
Well, Elliot, you have shared with us on the show that Hezbollah rocket and missile threat, how many again?
Well, by my estimates, about 250,000.
Is that all? Right here across the border?
All across.
Pointed at every inch of Israel. Yes. So the rocket and missile threat is profound. Absolutely. The Iranian backing with long range and increasingly precision.
More than Iranian backing, it's Iranian involvement. It's directed. In other words, Hezbollah, very commonly referred to as a proxy, is not really a proxy of Iran. It's part of Iran. It's a partnership. They get their orders directly from Iran, from the Revolutionary Guard.
It's an arm of the regime.
It's an arm of the regime.
Okay. Rockets, missiles, well-trained from their battles in Syria and elsewhere, yes. Iranian backing. And now, a new facet, a new addition to this Hezbollah threat, terror tunnels.
Yes. Over there on the border, you can see the army car out on the border. Right, yes. So that's where the tunnel went through the border from the other side, from that village, and into our territory.
So the terror tunnel was found right there. That's the tunnel, the opening, one of them. One of them, key point, there's a few.
We've officially announced finding 6. We know there are more. We know there are more that have not yet crossed the border. And this is the whole tunnel business. And yes, terror tunnel, but here I think we have to make a very important distinction. We've been facing tunnels from Gaza for decades. And those are truly terror tunnels. These are military tunnels. This is much more along the lines of think North Korea and the DMZ between North and South Korea. This is to move military force.
So tell us real quick, refresh our memories, Elliot, that North Korea-South Korea border
is completely honeycombed with tunnels that the North has dug, in some cases to move very large forces in. Now, I've known for nearly a decade, Hezbollah got equipment from North Korea. In the end, it's not clear how much of it they used, but already 8-9 years ago, we knew of their intention to dig tunnels here. Now, here also, digging is...
With North Korean help.
Certainly North Korean advice.
Advice, which makes sense because North Korea and Iran are good buddies and Hezbollah.
That's right. North Korea is in on this. You think, what's North Korea doing in the Middle East? North Korea is involved with Iran, with Syria, with Hezbollah. When we talk about digging, let's keep in mind that we're really talking about excavating. This is limestone. It's not sand. It's not earth. So it literally means tunneling through rock. First to go down the many stories down that they go, which is part of the deal, and then to come across. And this is work that's been going on for years. One of the biggest problems they've had, and it's one that was one of their giveaways, is what do you do with all that material that you take out? Okay, in Gaza, it's sand, you just spread it around, it disappears. Here we're talking about limestone. How do you get rid of tons and tons and tons of limestone? It was one of the giveaways.
Hey everyone, Erick Stakelbeck here. I want you to join me in Washington, D.C. this July for the premier pro-Israel event in the United States. The 14th annual CUFI Washington Summit will be held on July 7th, 8th, and 9th at the D.C. Convention Center, and it will be our biggest and best yet. Thousands of pro-Israel Christians will join together and lift their voices in the nation's capital for Zion's sake. CUFI's founder and chairman, the one and only Pastor John Hagee, will be there. He'll be joined by the U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, and many other very special guests. But most importantly, attending CUFI's Washington Summit gives you the chance to personally deliver a strong pro-Israel message to your members of Congress. I'll be in D.C. this summer, and I hope you'll be there too to raise your voice for Israel for such a time as this.
All of the work we've done against those tunnels was done on our side of the border. We never had to physically cross into the Lebanese side.
And that was a big conversation, right, Elliot, in December 2018 when these tunnels were uncovered officially. Right. Will the IDF have to go into Lebanon? And that could really spark a big conflict.
When the operation began, it wasn't known what Hezbollah would do in response. In other words, forces were put on alert, forces were moved north just in case. The border was kept quiet and they kept it quiet, and frankly I'm not surprised because I think that while this was a setback for them, they know that the next round is going to be the last one.
Yeah, for them, for Hezbollah, this is it.
That's
yeah.
Right. And Iran knows it. So they're not going to, let's say, they're not going to launch before they're ready to launch. Yeah. If we set them back a little bit, we set them back. But it's not enough. They know it's not going to be a skirmish the next time around. That was the mistake they made in 2006.
It's going to be a full-fledged
and we're not going to let it happen a second.
Israel won't hold back this time, nor should they.
They shouldn't have done it the last time. So what I see up here is sort of the opposite of the Gaza situation. We're not going to see a slow burn, minor incident,
flare up. Yeah.
That's not happening up here. Here we're going to go from 0 to 100 in one sweep.
Elliot, this next war is going to be big. It's going to be nasty, as you've described for us here on the show before.
Absolutely. And they know it. In other words, they've reached the point where they are a sufficient threat to our security that we can't afford to allow what's been going on, let's say, on the Gaza border to happen here. They've just amassed way too much force, way too much power, and when, because I believe it's a when and not an if, they decide to use it, we're not going to leave them sort of half back in the game. Yeah. And they know it. We've been very, very clear about it.
This is a threat that must be crushed decisively once and for all.
Yes.
How big of a black eye was this for Hezbollah? An embarrassment, number one. Did it make Iran, their Iranian masters, mad? And number two, how crucial were these tunnels to Hezbollah's strategy to attack the north?
Okay. First of all, it's a black eye. Certainly, they've put a huge amount of effort, resources into excavating them, and there are more. So this is not total. It's a setback, an embarrassment for sure, because as much as Nasrallah in a speech tried to laugh it off, this hurts. You don't invest anytime you invest that much in any sort of method. If it's thwarted, even partially thwarted, it hurts you. And if you thought you were doing it secretly and you found out that it's not such a secret, that hurts you in many, many different ways. So the purpose of the tunnels was to get advance parties into Israel. Small units, say dozens for our purposes, maybe even less than that, to get in and grab key tactical areas, whether it's a high point, an observation point, an intersection, a road, in order to block off an area, prevent Israeli forces from getting into that area, and allow those assault companies to cross over above ground.
Ah, so you'd have above ground and below ground.
Coming up first below and then coming in from above. If they take ground that happens to be a populated area and they kill 200, 300, 400, 500 civilians and then get wiped out, that's a victory for them.
Wow, they kill civilians, they plant the Hezbollah flag on Israeli soil.
Take the selfie.
The selfie with the flag, the image beams out, Al Jazeera. And
We conquered the Galilee. That's the idea behind it.
What you're describing is not a bunch of ragtag terrorists in caves, which is the image I think sometimes people at home have. This is a well-equipped, well-trained terrorist army.
Uniformed, equipped, organized as an army in companies, battalions, brigades, with a command structure, logistics, communications, intelligence, everything that an army has. Highly motivated, well-trained by Iran, combat experience in Syria, a threat. Now, a threat to overrun Israel? No. But a threat to cause a great deal of damage and kill lots of civilians in the process and make the fight against them a serious fight. Yes, that's where they are.
Elliot, you'll be back with us a bit later in the show for some final thoughts from the Israel-Lebanon border here. Up next, we speak to a farmer from right here in Metulla, but folks, not just any farmer. This terror tunnel that Elliot and I are talking about was found in his apple orchard. That's right, you will not want to miss this. Don't move.
David Friedman has made history as the first ambassador to serve at the new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. He plays a pivotal role in the U.S.-Israel relationship, and he'll be a special guest speaker at CUFI's 2019 Washington Summit. He's gone on to become one of the top voices in the U.S. administration, urging the president to move the U.S. Embassy and recognize Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the Jewish state.
Tammy and I welcome you to the opening and dedication of the United States Embassy in Jerusalem, Israel.
CUFI is thrilled to announce that he'll be speaking at our 2019 CUFI Washington Summit during the National Night to Honor Israel. You won't want to miss this historic opportunity to hear from Ambassador Friedman and our many other special guests in person. Register now to attend the CUFI Washington Summit on July 8th and 9th.
Thanks so much for joining us today. And man, you have quite a story to tell. Your orchard right over our shoulder here, that is where one of those Hezbollah terror tunnels that we're talking about today, it was found in your orchard.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
It's found in my apple orchards. Actually, the army gave me a call a day before the operation, and he said that they're going to do some job in this area, so please to make sure we will not come close. And we didn't. But it's something that happened by the routine. It's happened every few weeks, days, that the army asks for you not to come close to the fence or not to go to the orchards. So we didn't think that they're going to start digging and find the tunnels.
This was no different, you thought, right?
Yeah, just another regular day in our life.
Your orchard, exactly. You're a farmer here, of course.
Yeah, if you live on the border, you know that you need to listen to what the army asks you to and what he's telling you to do and not to do, where to go and not to go. So we didn't went close to that day, and overnight we found the next morning that they found a tunnel that came from Lebanon, from the houses in Lebanon into Israel.
So Livav, just so everyone at home gets this straight, what you're telling us is Hezbollah, and the border is right there, the Lebanon border is right there, Hezbollah country's right there beyond your orchard, dug tunnels from right over there under the fence into your orchard on Israeli territory.
Correct, in my apple orchard actually, and just one day you see that. The army tell you not to go to the area, and the next day you find a terror tunnel inside your orchards. 2 weeks before that I was picking the apples over there. You don't hear anything because it was very, very deep, and you don't have any clue.
So you didn't know they were digging. You didn't hear any digging sounds or anything?
No, nothing.
Because it was so deep under.
It was very deep. It was very professional building. The terror tunnel was built in very professional, and it's something that you cannot expect. So you can see over there is a black van. This is where the tunnel crosses the border. And just behind you is our neighborhood where we live. This is where I grew up. Just behind you is my parents' house. It's scary to think what was happening if the army wasn't make this operation. And if Hezbollah was able to make this tunnel to work. And if Hezbollah warriors was coming into Metulla, because they was planning to attack Metulla. Back home I have 2 children and a dog, actually a puppy. And just to think what could happen what could happen to my family, to my house, to my home. This is something that makes you think more than once about how it's to live over here. Yes, it's a beautiful place. And thanks to the army, to Israel army, it's safe here. Our neighbors not behave like us. They don't acting like us, and they don't thinking like us. They're thinking how to kill us and how to take over our land and our houses and homes. And this is something that you have to remember all the time and never forget. We have to keep going. We keep going, and we build this orchard again. And I invite you to come back in another 5 years, and we will go together to pick a new apples from the new orchard over there. And I really, really hope that in 5 years from now, we will make a different story about a different life and more comfortable life like you have back home in U.S.
Israel faces growing threats on all sides. Hezbollah, ISIS, Iran, and Hamas never cease their attacks. But God has raised Kufi up at this moment in history to stand between Israel and those who seek to destroy the Jewish state.
Israel's enemies are on the move. As dark clouds gather on the horizon, tell the world you proudly stand with Israel. Be a courageous voice for biblical unity and moral clarity when you join Christians United for Israel. Show your love for the people of Zion with this beautiful symbol of unending support for Israel.
Wear the pen and join Kufi, a movement of over 5 million defenders of Israel. Call the number on your screen or visit kufi.org/pen to receive your pen that will show your proud support for the special bond between Israel and America.
Welcome back, folks. We are wrapping up with our good friend Elliot Chodoff on the Israel-Lebanon border, a critical, obviously, area for Israel's security. But I think where we're standing right now, Elliot, may be the most critical spot in northern Israel, in a sense, when it comes to the Hezbollah threat. Where are we right now? Why is it so important?
Well, right now we're walking on the security patrol road of Metulla.
Gotcha.
And this is the Metulla security fence. But just on the other side that we're coming up to is the border fence, the border security fence with Lebanon. And beyond us here, the patrol road for the IDF, as distinct from the road that we're walking on, which is Metulla proper.
And what's this wall, by the way, right here?
This wall is to protect us from snipers. If they start shooting at us, this is where we're going to want to take cover.
I'm glad we're standing here right now. A good place to be.
They're not that accurate, though, so it's okay.
Thankfully, thank God. So, Lebanon's right there. It's a 10-second walk, folks, from where we're standing right now. It's right there, and which means Hezbollah is essentially right there, right?
Right across that fence. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are dug in watching us from the field.
Wow, okay, I won't wave and take any chances, but thank God I'm with an Israel Defense Forces Reserve Major, a warrior, and a strategist, Elliot Chodoff.
Remember, the cover is over there.
Yes, it is, but it's good to know that the wall is behind us. No entry, a closed military area.
That's the IDF patrol road, the electronic fence, and Lebanon just beyond it.
And Elliot, you were saying off camera, we were chatting, this, where we're standing right now, folks, is the northernmost point in all of Israel, right?
Right here.
This is it.
From here north, it's Lebanon.
Yeah, from here north. You're basically, folks, what you're looking at is the edge of the civilized world, because just beyond, like a few paces right there, is Hezbollah country.
Right, the barbarians.
The barbarians, they're literally at this gate right here that you see. Elliot, as we wrap up here, what comes next? Does Hezbollah continue with these efforts to dig the terror tunnels? What are we looking at?
Hezbollah continues to prepare. They're preparing for the war that we all know is coming. It'll happen when Iran gives them the order. Yeah. So they're going to continue excavating the tunnels, continue building up with the weapons that Iran is shipping them.
Well, Elliot, that great northern war is coming. It's not a matter of if, but when. Yes. Thankfully, we have you here to break it down for us and make sense of it all. Thank you so much, my friend, for joining us. Always a pleasure. We'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.
Folks, they do not come any better than Elliot Chodoff. And you know, our team at Christians United for Israel, we'd like to bring you top strategic and military analysts like Elliot and bring you the truth about what's happening here in Israel, in particular now today on this Israel-Lebanon border. This is a hot spot. We're going to continue to bring you these kinds of frontline reports that you just won't see anywhere else. So join our movement here at Christians United for Israel. You see the website, you see the phone number there on your screen. Call, click, and join this movement. 5.4 million strong and growing every day. Join us for such a time as this. Well, thanks for joining us today here on the Israel-Lebanon border in the shadow of Hezbollah country with our good friend Elliot Chodoff. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.